We're going to make a simple disk insert. We'll start by opening our new page. Then we'll grab the ellipse tool. Once we've grabbed that with nothing selected, we'll change the outline to hairline. That way everything from this point forward will be hairline on this page. Now I'm going to hold down the control button and I'm going to drag the mouse to make my circle. Most disk inserts are 2 inches, and we usually use a punch for the metal disk inserts. So what I like to do is I like to make the disk at 2.1 inches. I want it to keep its ratio, so I'm going to lock the ratio. And so 2.1 is the size I'm going to enter. And I'll just press enter because I kept the ratio, so it should be able to, it should keep it at the bottom. I'll press P to center. And again, we need to know what is the award for, who is it for, and when is it for. Those are the key factors. This is like the event, and this is the recipient, and this is the date. Before I do anything else, I will go ahead and center this so that it retains its centering. I will press P to center it to the page, and then I'm going to press Control K. So we've got this information, and we're going to try to squeeze it into this disk. But because we use a disk punch, I like to keep things away from the edge so that it makes it easier for the person who's punching. So I'm going to take this circle, I'm going to press Control C and Control V, and I'm going to make it 1.9. Control C is copy, Control V is paste. 1.9 is the size that I want it because that'll make sure that it stays within the circle punch borders. And then I just right click the green so that I know which one it is. I'll press Control End to make it go all the way to the end so that we don't have to accidentally keep grabbing that circle when we're trying to grab the words. So one of the things that I like to do with the what is the award for, I like copperplate as the font, and I'll shrink that a little bit more and maybe even bring it in this way. Now I'm going to shift click. I'm holding down the shift and I'm going to click the circle. I'm going to do text, fit text to path. And notice how it's on the outside of the circle. Well, I want to drop it below that to where it's inside there. And if you notice, it's still, it's probably a bit long for that, but it's at 19 point, and that's quite large, so we can drop it down to 15, and that looks about right. We want to give it some space. I know this is the border that's already giving it space, but I also use it to frame it. So who is the award for? I like Calisto for the names because it makes it nice and clear and legible. I also like to increase its legibility by adding 15% to the space between characters and 50% to the space between words. I'm also going to bold it. So let's say this is, let's put a name here. We're going to say this is for Amy. No, we need a longer name. Angela. And then so for the date, it's usually the year. And so we're going to do monotype for that. And then I like to add some sort of frill, some sort of something just to use up the space with it, but I don't want to make it overwhelming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some stars to this. So over here you have the polygon tool, but instead of choosing polygon, I'm going to choose star. And then I'm going to hold down the control again so that it comes out in an even size. I'm going to press P to get it centered to the page, but I'm still going to bring it up here. I'm going to go ahead and make it a solid star, so I'm filling it with the black, and I'm right-clicking the no fill, which means I'm removing the outline. And then I'm holding shift to keep it level with it. And then I'll right click to duplicate it. I'm going to shrink it, holding shift so that it shrinks evenly towards the center. And then I'm going to drag that one over to the right, holding shift again, and then right click to duplicate it. So now I'm selecting all of them. They're already at the level I want because I don't want them actually exactly centered. That's why I held shift. So I don't have to do any of this kind of a line, but I don't know if I distributed them evenly. So I'm going to distribute them evenly across the horizontal plane this way. So I'll press distribute space horizontally. Now I'm going to press Ctrl G, and now they're in a group. I'll shift click to the circle, and I want to center it horizontally left to right onto the circle so that it lands perfectly. For here, I'm going to eyeball it and make it a little bit bigger. And then maybe we could do something, a little something down here. We could put a little line. I'm going to fill it with the black, remove the outline. I will take these stars, bring it down here, right click to duplicate, ungroup, remove these, do something to this effect, bring this over. Now we're going to distribute evenly horizontally, and then we will center. That interferes with the G, so we're going to bring it down a little, and we can center it to the name. And now we can do something like this. We cannot use this top name because if we try to distribute evenly, it's going to come out like that. But we can use the stars. As a matter of fact, I think I need to move them up a little. We can use the stars up here. And then make sure we center to each other. And then we can distribute space vertically so that everything has a good even space. That's why I grouped the star with the lines to under the name. So now we will group that together, center it horizontally to the circle. And now we can ungroup that so that we can remove the green circle because that we only used for setting up the border size. Remove that. And now we're going to group the whole thing. So there it is set up for a metal 2-inch disc. I'm going to press Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste, press P to put it in the middle. Now if we're making them out of plastic, we need to make it a different size. So if you notice when I selected this circle, it still gives me the words and the tick snapping and all of that. Tick snapping, sorry. If you click on the circle again, not too fast because if you double click it'll do something different. It gives you just the circle. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to the 2 inches. But because the machine that we use does not like cutting right at the edge, I'm actually going to change it to 1.98 inches. You notice it took the words with it. We don't want that in this case. So let's undo with Ctrl Z. I'm going to click on the words, and then I'm going to break apart with Ctrl K. Now the words are no longer attached to the circle. But the problem with this is that if you try to change the words, it no longer does the right thing that it's supposed to be doing. So we don't want to do that unless we absolutely have to. So you can either break it apart like that and then change this to the 1.98, or you can leave it together and click the circle by itself, change it to the 1.98, and then click on the letters. And because you know exactly where this is cutting, you don't have to leave a separate border. Oops, I went the wrong way. So you're going to just go ahead and bring this out like that. And now it's exactly the size we need for cutting. So either way you're going to need to duplicate. If you're going on a metal sheet, you're going to take transformations and you're going to the right, and it automatically put 2.1 for you, and you can fit up to 5 for a 12-inch sheet. So you have 5 total discs going left to right. Because it is slightly larger, if we were to say add another sheet, since we have it at 2.1, it actually goes over the 12 inches. So for metal, you're going to do 5. For plastic, though, for plastic, I like to go up and down because we're cutting it straight out, so then we'll be able to cut the line to the right. So for plastic, I'm going to be making all 6, so I need 5 copies, but I'm going to add a little gap. Oops, actually I'm supposed to be going this way. I'm going to add a little gap, a 0.01 gap. See, I changed it from 1.99 to 1.98 to 1.99, and then apply. I will group this, press P. If I'm ready to print these, I can just go ahead and send this, group it, press P, and send it for that size. But on the plastic, I want to create a line, a 2-point line, and put it like this, and I will make it 12 inches tall. Press space to toggle back to the pointer tool, and I pushed it right up until it snapped to the edge of that circle. Now I'm going to shift click the discs. I'm going to center it, so that way it's lined up perfectly centered top to bottom. Now I will grab the line and I'm going to move it over with the arrow key twice. Now group this whole thing. Press Ctrl G for grouping, press P for centering, and notice I've got a 2-inch by 12-inch setup. What I'm going to be printing this at is 2.2 inches and then 12 inches. And this is how it's going to print. It's going to leave a small gap here, a small gap here, a small gap here. The machines we have don't like to print right up against the edge, and that's why I'm doing it this way. But this then cuts the piece off so that it makes your the rest of the pieces that you have left over easier to put away. And there you have your disc insert.